everyone to this month's workshop from the Purpose of Recovery. We're so glad to have you dial in with us today. I first want to say a huge thank you to Christina Padilla of CCAP. She's the Vice President of Education and Strategic Future Thinking. What does that mean? I don't know. Christina, do you want to say something about your work? And thank you for being our CE sponsor.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you. So for we support the Purpose of Recovery. We love what Donella and her team are doing at CCAP and being a CE sponsor for us to just come and support a lot of her individual counselors and shall I say peer support specialists. Sorry about that. You know, we have trained and they have went through a phenomenal program. But one of the things I just want to throw out to the group really quick is a quick, just little upcoming conference that we have, which is our multicultural and working with focused populations. We are moving from saying specialized to focused. Because if we think about specialized, well, what does that sound like, right? I mean, me and some colleagues were in a group and we're like, you know, a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with riding the yellow bus, but a lot of people felt like, you know, why are we specialized? We're more focused. So help us change that in the profession to move to focus versus move to specialized population and feeling segregated. So there's that part. But we have a multicultural conference coming up July 15th and 16th, and then also California Addiction Conference coming up that's going to have 5 days of wonderful stuff in Newport Beach. So I just wanted to give a plug really quick. I will put my email in the chat, Christina@ccap.us, and I will also put our website if you want more information. And thank you once again, Donella. We love working with you and supporting, you know, everything that the Purpose of Recovery does. And on behalf of CCAP, we just love the work that all of you are doing. So thank you, and I'll pass it back to you, Donella.
Thank you, Christina. And if you can put those links for the upcoming workshops and conferences in the chat, that would be great.
Absolutely. I will do that right now.
All right. So if you wouldn't mind keeping your mics muted until time when John opens up for some conversation later on, that would be great. You need, please engage in self-care. If you're able to keep your camera on and you want to engage, it's always easier and more rewarding for the speaker to be able to see your faces. That would be wonderful. But if you need to be off camera, we understand that as well. So I want to take a moment to introduce you to John Garbett. His partner, Kristen Garbett, unfortunately is not able to join us today, but he will be presenting to us. Both John and Kristen are family support partners with the Purpose of Recovery, and their passion is engaging families and other concerned significant others in the recovery of their loved ones from substance use and mental health disorders. Now, John has a very colorful background in Hollywood, and he may talk about that a little bit, but let me just give you some of his credentials in this space. From 2013 to 19, John volunteered with community-based addiction recovery organizations and has facilitated hundreds of group meetings, including NAMI's educational program for families living with mental health disorders. And then during the same time, John helped to write the CRAFT Family Support Work Group that's been used in 7 states. In 2019, he completed the University of Utah's Advanced Substance Use Disorder Treatment Training Certificate Program. So every week, John and Kristen via telehealth share CRAFT Connect programs with families across the U.S. And we are so glad that he's here today to tell us about CRAFT and to engage us as a community and how this can support our loved ones. So John, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Donella, for that introduction. And friends, it's great being with you today and sharing this presentation. This is something, and I'm just going to say this, I'll repeat it at the end of our time together. I'm going to say it right now. What I'm sharing with you is something you can do today or tomorrow to improve the quality of the recovery experience for the people who are struggling with a substance use or mental health disorder, to improve the experience of the therapists and program managers that are working with them, and that's going to be our focus today, and improve the quality of the lives of the family members of those who have a loved one that is struggling with these issues. So this is I don't want to say nothing is easy, but this is so easy. What I'm going to share with you today, so easy for you to get involved with. And Chris and I are grateful that we have the opportunity to work with the Purpose of Recovery and share these principles and skills with them. We, just a little more background before I begin, we also provide services to another RCO. It's USERRA, which is the statewide organization in Utah where we live now. And then I work with a private agency that helps people that have substance use and mental health disorders. And so I've had a lot of opportunities in different settings to work this program. What brought me to it very quickly is our son, who's now 28, was diagnosed as bipolar when he was a young teen. And we did everything we could to get him into counseling to help him understand and be able to cope and manage that situation. Then as he aged, he started using substances, wound up becoming addicted to heroin. We almost lost him to a couple of overdoses. He went through several rehab programs, inpatient and outpatient, struggled, but now at age 28 has what we describe as a life worth living. He's living independently, supporting himself. He has somebody that he loves, that he lives with. And we're grateful for the miracle, the hope of recovery. And so what I'm sharing with you today comes out of our lived experience as a family. And I know that's an experience that many in this group share. So I'm grateful to do that, to be together today. So to begin our session, one of the principles we talk about a lot in our Craft Connect groups is the principle of mindfulness, which you may be familiar with. So I want to start with a mindfulness exercise. And do that, I want you, if you're sitting, I just need you to sit upright, get comfortable, feet on the floor, and be able to, don't have anything in your hands, no pens or papers. Hang on one second. For this one, I'm going to talk you through it. It's going to last about 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about it for a minute. This is what we call a grounding exercise. So we'll always like to begin with 3 rings of the bell. All right. So I want you to bring your attention to 5 things you are currently feeling. That could be the texture of your clothing, the table or the chair that you're resting your hands or arms on. Now pay attention to 4 things you can hear. Could be the hum of an air conditioning unit, the sound of traffic from a nearby road, or the chirp of a bird. Pay attention to 3 things that you can see in your immediate surroundings. It could be the crack in a wall, a shadow, something you may not have noticed before. Now be aware of 2 smells you usually filter out. They can be pleasant or unpleasant. And finally, focus on one thing that you can taste at this moment. You can take a sip of a drink, chew a piece of gum, or just experience the current taste in your mouth. All right, if you'll bring your attention back to the group, I'd love to hear just from a couple of you what that experience was like. And if you had struggles, I'd love to hear about them.
I'll
You
go.
can-
I had to really focus on what's going on right here, right now, and it brought awareness because I had to really think about what's going on around me and really bring my attention to those things. So it really brought me here.
Okay, thanks, Roseanne. Any other thoughts from the group?
So John, Thea wrote that she needed that. It brought her here, present and now. So
Oh, great, love
Yeah.
that.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Denel, if you can feed me the chat comments, so that would be great as we get them during the session. Anybody struggle? Always love to hear that with the,
So CRAFT as an acronym means community reinforcement and family training. It is a program that does not require a clinician, although it is an evidence-based program. So it was developed by Dr. Myers at the University of New Mexico. It's not been widely used in California. It is fairly new to our community, and because we find it to be evidence-based practice and has so many valuable components to it, we wanted to be able to introduce it to Southern California. So John, I have shared with everyone what CRAFT stands for, giving a little bit of some background about Dr. Myers. So go ahead and pick it back up.
all right, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to conduct this presentation like we do our CRAFT Connect sessions, so you just get a feel for how we use Zoom. The other thing is, I know everybody's suffering from Zoom fatigue. We started using the Zoom platform for these kinds of meetings about a year before the pandemic started, because our clients in Utah are scattered all over a sparsely rural state. And our agency has family members that are all over the country. And so we've had to develop the ability to use this technology. And I apologize that we lost Zoom for a minute there. So I think, so what I'm gonna do is share my screen, and at various points during the presentation, I'm gonna have my friends from the Purpose of Recovery do some reading of the materials that I think would be helpful. So let me, okay. This material is all on our website. And so our community tab, today, which is the Engaging Families presentation. So we've just gone through our mindfulness experience. And today, friends, I want to talk about behavioral health. I know all of you are in the substance use community, substance abuse community, but what I've realized over the last few years is I think we do a tremendous disservice when we don't include mental illness, mental health, and take a broader behavioral health view. So just to wake everybody up, I'm going to play a cry for help from a group of 22 to 25-year-olds. And just listen to the lyrics for a minute with me.
Next song we'd like to sing. Is our latest record. Or our latest electronic noise, depending on whose side you're on. Any road, we'd like to carry on with it. It's the last number. We'd like to thank you all for being so wonderful. And it's called Help. 1, 2, 3, 4. Help. I need somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Help. You know I need someone. Help. When I was young,
All right. So, you know, last year, Paul McCartney was interviewed by the Sunday Times, and they asked him, you know, looking back over your time with the Beatles, did you experience behavioral health issues? And he said, yeah, we did. But back then we talked about them through our songs, right? Through our music. And to me, that's an example of one. So I hope you have something to write on and write with. What I want to do for our first little activity is talking about the concerned significant others in your life. So I want you to think about partners, spouses, children, friends, coworkers, members of the community that you feel a particularly strong connection with, who support you when you're feeling down, who help you get your feet back on the ground. These could be people you spend holidays with, whose praise or encouragement makes you feel good, who regularly text, phone, or email you, the people you appreciate being around. And these are what we call our concerned significant others. So I'd like you to if you only have one or two, that's great. I don't want you to list more than 5, but write down 5 people, just top of mind, that fulfill that role in your life as a concerned significant other. And then I want you to look at them as a group and write down one-word qualities that they all may have in common. So, for example, they all might be understanding, right? All right, I'd love to just hear from a couple of members of the group. What one-word qualities, as you look at that group of CSOs, concerned significant others, what were the qualities that you noted that they may all share? And just unmute yourselves and sing out or put it in the chat. Okay, supportive, all right.
Kindness, friendship, okay. Thank you, Eugene. Always there, have an open listening ear. They get me.
Okay, all right.
They're
Love
all
that.
good.
I like trustworthy.
Trustworthy, okay. So think about those qualities as we continue on in the presentation, you know, because again, we're talking about the CSOs in the lives of those that we're working with who have a substance use and or mental health disorder. So I'm going to get some help from my Purpose of Recovery friends and doing some reading, but I'll go ahead and I guess I need to still share the screen. So let me go back. Come on. Okay. So Alan, if you've got the materials, can you read 5, Merlin 6, and Nia 7? And I'll just kind of scroll down the screen so everybody else can follow along.
Okay, 5. Chronic diseases can be managed. There is hope. Treatment has made wellness and recovery a reality for people living with substance use and or mental health disorders. Recovery is not about getting rid of our loved ones' mutual health or substance use problems, but seeing beyond them, recognizing and fostering their abilities, interests, and dreams. These are chronic conditions. Relapsing to unwanted behaviors is not only possible, but also likely with symptom recurrence rates similar to diabetes, 20% to 50%, hypertension, 50% to 70%, and asthma, 50% to 70% from NDIA, July 2019, US HHS, etc.
Following etc. Clinical recovery involves diagnosis, objective measures of symptom management and remission, and psychological function is rated by behavioral health professionals. And I'm going to give some attributes here. Davidson Rowe, 2007, Slade, 2009. Personal recovery is an ongoing lifelong and highly subjective process. Key concepts in the recovery process include hope, personal responsibility, self-advocacy, and wellness, empowerment and self-determination, and acceptance. And that comes from Deegan, 1996, Mead and Copeland, 2000, Ahern and Fisher, 1999, 2001, Fisher in 1999, and Fries and Davidson in 1997, and Spaniol in 1997.
Okay. Our relationships and how happy we are in those relationships have a powerful influence on our physical and mental health. Connecting with friends, family, and community is an indication of a return to basic functioning and underlines the importance of social relationships in recovery. Being supported by others, relational recovery, is critical for those trying to live interdependently in the community. Some accolades for Young and Ensing, 1999, Jacobson and Greenlee, 2001, Schoen, 2009, and Davidson, 2005. And there is a video of Harvard's 75-year study of adult development.
Okay, so I'm just going to disclose this to all of you. So my personality, I guess, and my professional training, I always look for a source, right? And we use the terms in our work that we're using evidence-based practices. That's important to me. So you're going to see throughout this presentation a lot of sources. We don't need to read them, but I just want you to know this isn't coming out of my head. This is coming out of the research literature. And I love this idea of three kinds of recovery. Clinical recovery, which the medical professionals help us to understand. Personal recovery, that we spend a lot of time talking about, you know, my pathway is different from your pathway. And then the focus for today is on this idea of relational recovery. So this is a study that fascinates me, and I'll tell you just a little bit about it once we on the other side.
What if we could study from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age?
We just started. I'm sorry.
What if we could study people from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age to see what really keeps people happy and healthy? For 75 years, we've tracked the lives of 724 men. About 60 of our original 724 men are still alive, still participating in the study, most of them in their 90s. When they entered the study, all of these teenagers were interviewed, they were given medical exams. We went to their homes and we interviewed their parents. And then these teenagers grew up into adults who entered all walks of life. They became factory workers and lawyers and bricklayers and doctors. One president of the United States. And when about a decade ago, we finally asked the wives if they would join us as members of the study, many of the women said, you know, it's about time. So what have we learned? The clearest message that we get from this 75-year study is this: good relationships keep us happier and healthier. We've learned three big lessons about relationships. The first is that social connections are really good for us and that loneliness kills. It turns out that people who are more socially connected to family, to friends, to community are happier, they're physically healthier, and they live longer than people who are less well connected. And the sad fact is that at any given time, more than 1 in 5 Americans will report that they're lonely. And we know that you can be lonely in a crowd and you can be lonely in a marriage. So the second big lesson that we learned is that it's not just the number of friends you have, and it's not whether or not you're in a committed relationship, but it's the quality of your close relationships that matters. It turns out that living in the midst of conflict is really bad for our health. High conflict marriages, for example, without much affection, turn out to be very bad for our health, perhaps worse than getting divorced. And living in the midst of good, warm relationships is protective. And the third big lesson that we learn is that good relationships don't just protect our bodies, they protect our brains. It turns out that being in a securely attached relationship to another person in your 80s is protective, that the people who are in relationships where they really feel they can count on the other person in times of need, those people's memories stay sharper longer. So what about you? Let's say you're 25, or you're 40, or you're 60. What might leaning into relationships even look like? It might be something as simple as replacing screen time with people time, or livening up a stale relationship by doing something new together, long walks or date nights, or reaching out to that family member who you haven't spoken to in years. The good life is built with good relationships.
All right. There's a lot of great experience in this group. I'd love to just take a minute to have you share your thoughts about this is the premise of that little.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. If you're like me, you're probably still
Sorry, guys.
trying to digest the last hour and a bit. That
I
would
don't know where that came from. Okay.
I was looking all over for the voice, John. It was coming from your computer.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Okay, so I'd love to hear just from the group. This is the fourth director of this study, longest medical study in American history, been going on over 75 years. The idea, good relationships keep us healthy and happy. I'd love to hear thoughts on that. Do you agree with that premise? Do you disagree? I just love some thoughts from the group on that. Has that been your experience?
Completely agree. Carolina is completely agreeing with us.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely, from Sue.
Let me just briefly say that my wife and I have been together for about 65 years, and we're both in our 80s. I am older than she is, but the relationships, and I call it life on a bungee cord because we've stretched the hell out of it in so many ways and so forth. And I've been privileged to go through the CRAFT program, and it helps me. I mean, you're never through learning. Thank you, John.
Okay, all right. Okay.
JT, of course, shared the reality that, COVID didn't do us any favors, obviously. But, the end is in sight, folks. That's a good news.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is the thing. I love the comments. I love the sentiment. And my challenge for us who are working in this field is, are we spending enough time helping people strengthen their relationships, right? And we're going to talk about the benefits, the real world benefits of strengthening relationships in recovery, with this idea of relational recovery. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Okay, let's see, Angel, if you could read number 8.
Yes. A promising pathway. CSO engagement and involvement in recovery offers a promising pathway toward better quality health care, more efficient care, and improved population health for those with behavioral health disorders. The way forward lies in developing, promoting, and implementing approaches that properly acknowledge the irreducibly relational nature of connectedness of recovery.
Okay, so what we're talking about today,